So today is an exciting day. We're on our way to Flex Adventures to pick up our new 75-litre fridge. So our fridge got damaged in a fire, which is something we heard about in another video, where we actually talk about what happened and what went down. But we're going out there to Flex for not only getting a fridge. I actually want to get some clarity on how fridges work and how to correctly set up your fridge. You know, what is the difference between high, medium, and eco mode? You know, do you want your fridge running in eco mode? Is it good for your fridge? Are you making the compressor run longer? Because those are things that I don't understand when it comes to refrigeration, especially with camping fridges. So I'm hoping that Ewan and the guys at Flex can give us some clarity to truly understand how the fridge really works and to get the best out of the fridge and to also preserve your battery, not to damage your battery and not to damage your compressor on your fridge. I'm super excited for this because we need a fridge. Cooler box is no fun. Once you go from a cooler box to a fridge, it's an amazing experience. But once you go from a fridge back to a cooler box, it's not an amazing experience at all. So I finally arrived at Flex Adventures to pick up the fridge. But I'm here with Ewan, and this is part of the thing that we want to talk about. Like I said, you know, you buy so many things. You buy roof racks, you buy winches, you buy bumpers, and you don't really know how to use the products you buy. So many of us are buying products that we buy out of the store, we bring it home, and we don't really know what we can get out of the product. We know how to basically use it, but we don't know how well we could really use this product and what we could really get out of it and the benefits that the manufacturers are not making available to us. So that is where product information comes in. And one of the biggest gripes that I have, and this is something that bothers me a lot, is that I never understand high, medium, eco, and also the problem that I've got into trouble with my wife already. We'll go somewhere and I'll set the fridge at a temperature, and when we get to camp or she's busy or the next morning, then our vegetables are basically, you know, like the lettuce are hard because they're frozen, or the yogurts
tomatoes and stuff, yeah.
The tomatoes especially. And getting that balance right, you know, the manual will tell you everything about the fridge and the voltages and the amperages, but it won't tell you how to actually use this fridge. And that is where Ewan comes in. And this is where we need the product knowledge. What is the differences and how do we get the most? Because like me and you always speak about, a fridge, I mean, as affordable as a Flex Adventure fridge is, it is still an investment. And if you look after it, it's something that can last you many, many years. So you want to get the most out of it. And how do we get the most out of the fridge?
Okay, thanks for the opportunity, Gershon. But I think in a sense, there's so many fridges on the market with so many different settings. People don't take in consideration cable thickness when they run their fridges, the size of the compressor of the fridge. So there's so many things that you need to take in consideration when you buy a fridge, what your setup is, what's your application. So if we go to the temperatures, basically, let's start from the beginning. On a fridge side, I will run between 2 and 5 degrees on the fruit side, depending what you want to do. So if you're going to run tomatoes and stuff, or put tomatoes and stuff like that in your fridge, logically you don't want to run it too cold, but you also want your cool drinks and maybe beer to be cold. And then in your deep freeze side, for the dual zone fridges, you want to run at -10 to -15 degrees. So how higher you can run the temperature, logically, how less you're going to consume. So if you're going to put in frozen stuff in the fridge and you run -10, it's not going to basically go unfrozen. I've added ice and run it at -10. In actual fact, this past weekend, when nothing went wrong, there's no problem, it didn't melt or anything. So -10 is more than enough for water and stuff. Logically, if it's a ice cream, maybe, that becomes a different viscosity or different components, or the product itself is different.
It needs a different temperature.
But water freezes at 1 degree.
That's where I was wrong. I always used to have my freezer at like -5 or -8. So that was never the right setting. So does that mean the compressor is now working harder?
How deeper you go down, how harder the compressor is going to work to maintain it. But a lot of people think they need to put the deep freeze on -20. The food industry, or in a Checkers or something, their requirement is to run at -22 because the fridge gets open and closed a lot of times. There's a possibility for the fridge to be left open, but then the fridge still needs to maintain that temperature, that frozen temperature. The food doesn't go off. So logically, it's not
1,000 people opening the fridge.
Exactly. So you're not 1,000 people not opening a fridge. So minus 10, minus 15 is more than sufficient. You don't need to run it at minus 20. Yes, the fridge can go down to minus 20, but it's not required. But logically, how higher you run the temperature, or lower the difference between ambient is, are less your fridge is going to consume.
So that's a question I want to touch on. Like, so we will go like to Cedarburg. We'll go to Jamaica, for example, and at Jamaica it reaches 40 degrees in the daytime, right? So it's blisteringly hot. I obviously have to drop the temperatures on the fridge, you know, to like minus 15 and to 2 on the fridge side.
But that's good.
But then at nights, right, the temperature then comes down to 2. I mean, we've all been in situations, especially when you're traveling where it's blistering hot in the daytime and very cold at night. Do I then have to go and take that freezer up to 10?
No.
No.
Because logically, all our fridges run with a variable speed compressor. So our compressors can run between 2 and 3,500 RPMs.
Okay.
It can adjust itself. So it will start up at the highest capable RPMs to cool the fridge down as quick as possible, and it will then see with the electronics in the fridge, okay, it's going down quicker than what it is normally, so I will then decrease the speed of the compressor, so the compression inside...
It's like a VSD, basically, a variable speed drive.
Basically, exactly the same thing. So that will then drop the consumption and make your fridge... That's why our fridges are so economical.
Okay, so that makes sense. So now my other question is, so what if it's not a dual zone fridge? What if you've got a fridge that you've got this little basket here that's basically your freezer, you know, where you're going to keep now a few things, some ice in there. What is then the optimal temperature on a fridge like that?
So, like the fridge behind you, our CF55, that's exactly what your example
yes, this is exactly, we've got this pocket here and this is your fridge.
So your temperature that you set on your fridge will be this temperature, the internal main compartment. Okay. The back compartment, you cannot set the temperature. That is cold air flowing over. So you're looking at 3 to 5, 6 degrees warmer at the back than what's in here. So if you got this at 2 degrees, it's going to be about 5 or 6 degrees at the back. So that's nice for milk, your tomatoes, cheese, stuff like that.
It's still going to get cold, but it's not going to be ice cold.
Exactly. So this, and also this CF55 is extremely efficient and it cools down very quickly. We've done a test with this. We only consumed 3 amp hours to get from 23 degree ambient to minus 20. And it took us, I think, 40 minutes to get there.
So yes, it's answering a lot of questions. I have a bit more questions. In terms of packing a fridge, I've heard from people that say the more you pack in the fridge, the more effective the fridge will work. Is that true?
It's 100% correct. So the volume of air in here, okay, it's easy to cool it down because there's no warm, it's the ambient temperature. So if a fridge is empty, it will cool down extremely fast. If you add warm things, it will take much longer to cool down. That's why a lot of manuals and a lot of fridge manufacturers recommend that you pre-cool your fridge before you put it in your car, if you're running from your car battery. Because then logically it's going to use the mains to cool the fridge down. But once it's cooled down and there's nothing inside...
The hard work's done.
Yeah, so once you've reached your set temperature with nothing in, your temperature will go up to ambient much quicker. But if your fridge is full, everything inside is already cold. It will take much longer to get to ambient. So a lot of people say, instead of just running 1 or 2 items in your fridge, maybe add a bottle or 3 of just normal water inside. And that will also help the efficiency with your fridge.
So we had a cooler box. We always operated on a cooler box. And then we went to a flex fridge and we got so used to it. Then we had an incident with our fridge. Now we're back to a cooler box. So unfortunately, we have to come back to a fridge. My wife is pitching and moaning. But the other thing is also, the next question, and it's probably the last question I have, but it's just something, fridge blankets. Is it worth spending the 700-800 rand on a blanket? Is it that efficient? Does it help that much?
Yes. So we, firstly, logically it helps with scratches and stuff. If you've got a stainless steel fridge, stainless steel or steel absorbs heat much quicker than what plastic does. So plastic is a much better insulator. But with the fridge cover, you basically have a cover against scratches and stuff like that, but it also adds to the insulation because you've got a reflective material, a sponge, and then a fabric on the outside. So yes, it does. It does help. It's not much, but it does help. We've done a test. And the figures basically show.
I remember with my flex fridge, I would have it at the back of my van by the back windscreen. And on a very odd day, you'd put your hand on that fridge, whether it's plastic or not, it would be blistering hot. So what I did as a little hack was I bought me a sun visor and I cut it in half.
Exactly.
And I glued Velcro to my rear windscreen. And I put the sun visor there. So just half of my windscreen was blocked by a sun visor. So the direct sunlight wasn't coming on the fridge because I could feel how hot it was when I would touch it. And my fridge used to stay cooler longer, it used to get cooler quicker because I didn't have that direct sunlight hitting on it. So that for me was a little hack because I was limited to space for the bag because we were trying to pack as much as we can.
Yes.
So, okay, so that is the thing. So that is the whole thing, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you're spending 10,000 Rand on a fridge or 8,000 Rand on a fridge, I mean, then we've got the 95. This is the 75. This is about 10,000.
Yeah, about 10 grand. Yeah.
About 10 grand for this fridge. But if you spend that kind of money, it's a long-term investment. It can last forever. If you look after it, I mean, what I love about, one of the things why we're coming back to Flex and we're not going to another brand is, for me that has 2 4x4s, I'm always changing what I'm doing with my vans, or sometimes this will go in my trailer. And I love the fact that I could always just swing the doors around. I didn't always have to turn the fridge on.
Can I show you something on this lid?
Yeah.
So when we were at the Outdoor Expo in Malmesbury, we had this fridge running in the sun. So when you open the lid and you touch in the inside, it's ice cold. Ice cold. And the outside, you couldn't touch it. It was so hot of the sun. So you can see the insulation property of our lids is good. It's not, the reason for it, we use a closed cell foam, high density foam inside our fridges.
So that just helps insulate it more.
Exactly.
So that's for me, it's always a winner with these. That's the kind of product information that we need to know. Like, what is this latch here, by the way?
So basically,
it's a cutting board.
That's a cutting board, and also the nice thing is when you put your lid flat, there's a gap on top. So it fits in there, and you've got your cutting board on top. And then there's one other thing I want to mention to you, Gershom, that we didn't take is the eco mode and the max mode.
Yes, so now explain that. Sorry, I almost forgot about that. That is actually the most important thing.
That's a very important factor. We've had a lot of influx of calls and people phoning us and, how can I say this, not having the best experience with their fridge because of they're not sure where they run. So our fridges have all a max and an eco mode, and then they've also got a battery protect mode, high, medium, and low. Yes. Okay. So with the bigger fridges, especially with the 75 and the 95, they run 90-watt compressors. Our 45 and 55 runs a 60-watt compressor, and then our smaller fridges runs a 45-watt compressor. So with the smaller fridges, their draw is not a lot. But other bigger fridges, if you plug them into your normal vehicle cigarette slot at the back, the cables that goes to the back, standard cables from the factory, is extremely thin.
The cables in the vehicle now.
In the standard vehicle, it's extremely thin. Yes, they can withstand 15 amps or 10 amps, that what they are rated for. But the manufacturer doesn't tell you, if you're going to put 15 amps draw on that you're going to get a huge amount of voltage drop. Yeah. So the voltage drops causes the fridges to kick in the battery protect, logically to protect your battery. So when it kicks into a battery, it will give you an F1. Yes. So that means the fridge is in battery protect, and it's not going to work further. So then we get people phoning us, but the fridge is not cooling. Then we ask, on what is your fridge? High, medium, and low. Okay, it's on high. Is the fridge idling? Is the vehicle idling? No, the vehicle is off. So then you're going to get these type of, it's not errors.
So then you're saying when your vehicle's idling, it should be set to high.
You can set it to high, but what we recommend is running a medium if you're running on your normal vehicle battery. It depends on, like FJ Cruiser's got 2 jacks at the back, running on 2 small cables. Yeah. A Ford Wildtrak. They are running a 15 amp at the back, same as the Nissan Navaras. But the wires in there is extremely thin.
It's not
so the voltage drop is too much. So what we recommend, especially running a bigger fridge, is when you can run the fridge while the vehicle is running, but not while the vehicle is off, or alternatively running it from a dual battery system. When you run it from a dual battery system, you can run it on low. You don't need to run it on medium or high. Low battery protect. But if you're running it from your vehicle's main battery, at least on medium. Okay. If it's a bigger fridge and you see the F1 is still kicking in, you can bring it down to low. But bear in mind, you're still going to have a voltage
drop. And then
what
is eco?
So eco mode, the only thing with eco mode is you can activate the eco mode if you want to run your fridge 5 degrees and warmer. Not 0, not -5, not -10. So what eco mode does is it limits the compressor to run only at 2000 RPMs. So when the fridge starts up, it will only run at 2000 RPMs. So if you've got a low voltage, that helps your fridge to start up and prevent the battery protector kick in, but it will only run at 2000 RPM. So how the cooling works is, the cooling is based on the compression ratio that the compressor produces inside the system. So higher the compression, but that needs a higher RPM, how colder the fridge is going to get. Okay, so if you put on eco mode, it only allows 2000 RPMs. So when you're going to put it on eco mode and you want to run at -20 or -10 degrees, the fridge is going to continuously run. It's going to drain your battery, it's going to kill your battery, and it's not going to work.
So I always had the idea that eco mode was to do with the battery, where eco mode has got nothing to do with the battery, it's got to do with the compressor. It's about the RPM of the compressor.
So it's, if you're in trouble and your battery is low and you just want to prevent your stuff from going off, you put your fridge in 5 degrees. If it's single zone, double zone, put both in 5 degrees, put the eco mode on. It will then get you to a point where at least you can keep your stuff cooler for a longer period.
So that is basically like just an emergency mode that you need to use. So you should always cycle with your high, keep it on medium like you said, and if you've got a dual battery, and if you've got a single battery, keep it on low, and then eco is if you say, for example, now, shit, my battery is now almost depleted, but I need to keep my meat frozen till I can get sun tomorrow morning because I'm on solar, and then I switch to eco. Okay, so that's it. I never knew that because you don't understand these things. That's the biggest difficulty. But Ewan, thank you for the cap. This is it. And I'll give you feedback on the fridge. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.